The following is a review by Keith Cheatham. Much like the meme of the dog sitting calmly at the kitchen table proclaiming everything is fine as the house burns down around him, Hollywood saunters on, desperate to make audiences conform to their way of thinking. This has become more and more blatant the last few years, but it is always extra blatant during Oscar season, which has certainly held true for many of this year's nominees. While audiences grow sick of the obvious attempt at virtue signaling and outright propaganda, what I find worse is when Hollywood tries to be crafty and subtle. Which brings me to Best Picture nominee Tar. The film critics declared almost borders on conservative values, making it clear that leftist Hollywood truly has no understanding of those values, or are intentionally deceptive to hide their own agenda. They are, of course, both. Starring Cate Blanchett as the fictional Lydia Tarr, a modern-day composer, EGOT winner, and head conductor of the Berlin Philharmonic Orchestra, Lydia is blunt, intelligent, and opposes the ideas of cancel culture and identity politics. She is also a married lesbian, which is supposed to lend some kind of authority to her views as someone who cannot be challenged as they are a part of the woke community. What starts off as a smart and well-made film soon becomes a thinly veiled backhanded commentary on cancel culture, as despite her incredible work and extraordinary talent, Lydia Tarr is a terrible person. Where many give the film credit is in an early scene where Lydia berates a Juilliard school student for his refusal to play music from classical composers such as Bach. This being due to such composers being cis white men who directly contributed to the patriarchy and other wokeness nonsense. And while Lydia's rebuttal is in essence true, which many conservatives have praised, the film proceeds to focus on the evils of Lydia's character, while half-heartedly asking the question, but should she still be praised for her genius? It's hard to even call this subtle, though, seeing how on the nose it is in comparison to the current controversy surrounding J.K. Rowling, whose views have likewise gotten her labeled with such terms as bigot, sexist, and TERF. The film purports to raise the question, should artists' personal lives and views be separated from their works? But doesn't feel like an honest exploration of that question. Instead, the film, which at times drags, feels more like a ready-made example Hollywood can throw at people to say, see, we don't agree with cancel culture either, a stance they will reserve for the likes of people like Roman Polanski, while they continue their attempts at burning J.K. Rowling at the stake. All because despite what they say, cancel culture is only wrong if it's people who think like them being canceled. Directed by Todd Field, the movie is technically well made, and even outside of its subject matter, I can see why it was nominated. Blanchett gives a stellar performance, with writing and dialogue expertly crafted. Some may even find the film too highbrow, but despite the scholarly dialogue and musical jargon, the film never talks down to its audience and trusts that they are smart enough to absorb the material. Much like the Banshees of Inisherin, while in some ways more pretentious than Banshees, it's not so pretentious to be utter nonsense that the filmmakers will blame audiences for being too stupid to understand. Outside of how well made it is, however, nothing within the film resonated with me. It does nothing for lovers of music the way Chazelle's Whiplash and La La Land did, and its themes and morals are too spotty and poorly crafted to make it a film I feel stand the test of time. Sure, there are times Lydia makes statements I feel many would agree with, but we are constantly reminded that she's a bad person, and perhaps her views shouldn't be taken seriously after all. What I walked away with was a movie that bored me, not because it was too intelligent, but because it was another Oscar nominee that once again lacked any real substance. It doesn't outright shove an agenda down your throat, as many other films this year have, but it's not the bastion of common sense and even-handedness others make it out to be. I appreciate Blanchett's performance, but very few I think will revisit or remember Tar. I give Tar 2.5 out of 4 stars.